Greetings, it is I, Susie Q. Back in 2017, I went to a really fun place, the Guadalupe River. We were tubing down the river. We were having a really fun time. We did ceremonial things in the evening with all these candles and things. It was a beautiful experience, and it was fantastic. Super duper fantastic time. There were three of us. My friend Mary and my friend Andrew were there, and we were all having a lot of good times. And so eventually we decided we had to go back home, and what kind of happened after that is that I started getting a couple of phone calls or some acknowledgments that there's some stuff going on back in Houston with the weather. And eventually what I found, it was Hurricane Harvey. And it was extraordinarily, such a big event. And then eventually I thought, well, I'm just going to drive back, to where I was staying. And I'm just going to be here in this house with a friend of mine. And I just started kind of looking at what else is happening? I knew that the weather was really changing. I knew that the water was kind of rising a little bit. I didn't know that it was going to rise that much. But the next morning when I got back from my friend's place, then I started looking outside the window and seeing that a lot of the water was coming up, not just on the street, but coming up into the house, and all of that happened. And it was extraordinarily freaky, super freaky. And so eventually the water was coming in, and I was helping my friend to get some of his equipment. He's a musician guy. And so we started putting things up a little bit higher so it would be okay. And it was just extraordinarily shocking, And then, of course, my beautiful vehicle, my beautiful Nissan Altima, such a sweet car, it just flooded. It was completely flooded. So eventually I would look out the window and see that maybe there were some people that were kind of looking around and seeing what was going on. And eventually there would be different boats coming down the street, really, literally down the street. And I kept thinking, well, why don't we just hang 10 for a little bit, because maybe you help, people with kids or older people. And then I just thought, we need to get the heck out of here, because the water was rising in the house. So that was extremely weird. And then when we finally decided to go outside, there was a boat in the front of the house. There was a boat right there. And so we decided, let's just go. I think we need to get on this boat with these people. And they had all these different kind of people. We were totally wet. And it was really kind of really a bad way. It was in a really bad way. So I had a few things. I think I had my phone. I think I had my purse. I didn't really have that much. And so they took us to a different place when we went into this boat. And again, it's literally on a street. But when I was looking down underneath the water, you could see other vehicles that were flooded completely under the water. You could see their headlights and all of that. So all of these experiences, I tell you what, I've had all kinds of weird experiences, but that's what happened. And eventually they took us to a different place where trucks were, we were getting into different, trucks, and then we would go to a high school or an elementary school. There were all kinds of people there. A lot of people were sick. Some of them were sick. Some of them were older. Some of them were kids. It was just a freaking hot mess. And I was like going, what am I going to do now? I was like going, oh my God, what is really happening? So I had a friend, I called a friend of mine and her husband, and they decided that they could come and get us. Sometimes all of that water was completely, on all the streets, but I was able to go to their place. And that was extraordinarily wonderful that they shared us for a couple of days just to be there. So all of this stuff has been totally epic. It was Hurricane Harvey. The water kept coming back. Let's just say that it was coming from the ocean, and then they're holding that space, and then it keeps coming back, back into Houston. It was just a freaking nightmare. It took me this experience for me to leave, So eventually, after all of that happened, A friend of mine borrowed a car from my friend, and she was so generous, and it was so wonderful. And then I decided that I think it's time for me to leave this area. And that was extremely epic as well. And so part of that was, I've got my siblings there. I've got my mother was there. All of that was happening, and I just thought I just need to get away. I just need to get away from some things. And so eventually what happened, I went with my friend and we went to Vegas. I was there for about 3 months. I stayed with a few different people, and it was kind of like a gypsy for a while. I had a few things in a storage unit. And I just started kind of, engaging with new friends in Vegas for about 3 months. And then eventually one of my friends came and got me and brought me to Casa Grande. So all of these things are so epic, So I was there in Casa Grande with Kevin and his dad, and we're all good friends, right? And I was there probably for like maybe 7 or 8 months, and then eventually I decided that I needed to go to a different place. And so when you talk about being kind of like in a weird space, or you don't really have your own place, I was kind of like a gypsy for a while. I was kind of a gypsy for a while, and it was okay. It was kind of okay, and sometimes it wasn't totally okay. But being there with my friends Kevin and his dad, they were so generous. I had a job back then with senior things, and all of that was happening. And so I just kept going with different people, and they were very generous with me. And I was so appreciative for everybody on my journey, because these were people that I'm just now learning who they were. Like I have all my friends back in Houston, my friends back in Austin, but when I started coming into this area, I just had to find new friends very quickly. And that was really a special place, for me to kind of reconcile what happened during the Hurricane Harvey and, my real estate stuff. I was still doing real estate in Arizona, but I was working with a couple of agents that I had. And then I decided at the end of 2018, I was just going to release my brokerage. And I didn't have a whole lot of people coming in, but I think that was probably the best thing that I could do, was just to release and let go of my brokerage. And I've been doing it for a long time. Like real estate, I started probably when I was about 17 years old, working at John Doherty Realtors, and then I decided to get a real estate license, and then I became a broker, and then I did a lot of land deals and all that kind of stuff. It was kind of extraordinary. But right now I'm in sunny Scottsdale. I'm in sunny Scottsdale, and it's okay. I really like it over here. We're kind of close to the ASU. We're in South Scottsdale, and just living my best life here, But before all of that happened, a lot of things started kind of. God, it was like it wasn't the best, at the very beginning of that event with Hurricane Harvey. All of that kind of blew my mind, right? Totally blew my mind. So that's kind of part of my story, why I left Texas and why I'm here. And so basically I got here in Casa Grande with my friend Kevin and his dad, and then I'm living here in sunny Scottsdale. And it's a really kind of a nice place, but I kind of miss Texas. I wanted to leave Texas, but now I'm kind of like going, I kind of miss Texas. I miss my friends. I miss my family members, my nieces and nephews and all that. But that's kind of part of what's happening with myself. So these are some of my stories. And again, like I said, the Hurricane Harvey thing was just, it kind of like was this big swish of energy. And then I realized that I needed to go someplace else. I needed to make a very big change in my life, and it was extraordinary. I was scared, I was nervous, I was afraid that it wasn't going to work out. And so back in 2018 is when I was, starting to do some of those senior things, and then I just started to yeah, get into some other things. So I've been working with a chiropractor for I think maybe 6 years, and I'm just kind of doing a little bit of that material right now. I do a lot of the things over the phone. I do, setting up appointments and things like that. But I want to do a little bit more. I want to get a little bit more cool stuff going forward. But this is just part of my story. And it's, I think a lot of us have had weird experiences or things that weren't the best, but then you kind of rise back up and you're still doing what you're doing now. So I'm like really engaging with sharing some of these stories. And sometimes people don't really talk about the yucky stuff, but I'm okay talking about my own yucky stuff because that was a process for me. It was part of my divine purpose or my divine lessons. And all of these lessons have actually been kind of cleared going forward. So I really appreciate you for just listening. And we'll see you soon. And namaste.